Welcome. Today we'll see what's the basic information about on-premise and the cloud. We'll go to devopspilot.com and go to DevOps roadmap and go to on-premise versus cloud. Okay. So generally first we'll discuss what's the very basic difference between the normal computer and the server. So generally when we tell it as a normal computer, which we use it on daily day-to-day life in our home, right? So we generally use it for personal use cases, and the configuration of the server generally will be for the very basics thing. We can consider it could be mostly some Intel processor with 8-core processor, and it might be having 16 GB RAM, or maybe based on your configuration it can be up to 32 64 GB RAM also. And for hard disk we'll be using like 512 GB RAM, 1 TB, or even up to 2 TB hard disk we'll be using. So this is general the use case we'll be using for our local PC workstation we'll be using. So this is the normal thing, right? So, but when we tell it about a server, which will be used generally in the IT industry and mostly for application deployment, and even sometimes used for even for development purpose also. Even we see the lot of applications, right? The websites, the Flipkart.com, and even Amazon, in Netflix, anything. So most of these applications are the websites which are running, right? So in the background, actually, these are running in some server only. So these Netflix and all, like this website has been used by a lot of people, right? Like maybe in minute, maybe some crore people or maybe some millions and millions people will be using that application. So if we just deploy that one particular Netflix website in one server with just minimum 16 GB and 512, that won't be sufficient, right? So we need a large servers like with good number of resources. So we have this server generally, which will have a very good amount of resources. And even we think that the first, just a small, the first server box, right? One server can have up to 160 cores of CPU. So generally we tell it as a normal PC will be having 8 core, right? So server can have up to 160 core CPU also, and RAM it can up to 2 TB of RAM. So the normal we use like just a 16 GB of RAM, but in the server, one server can have up to 2 TB of RAM. And even the storage is like can have up to 1 petabyte of block storage, which is like GB. Then we have TB, and 1024 TB is equal to 1 petabyte of block storage. It can have that much storage for such a single server. Okay, and we can have a lot of servers also. This is the very basic difference between the normal PC and the server. So server is just nothing. It is having a very good number of resources, having the more RAM and more CPU power and more block storages. Okay. And next we'll discuss what is data center. Data center is a collection of servers to provide the shared access to application and data using the complex network, compute and storage infrastructure. So data center is nothing but they will have the collection of the servers. So we see that one server is having this much capacity of data, like 160 cores and 2 TB and 1 petabyte of block storage. Right? So we will have like maybe thousands, even like lakhs of this server. We have it in one place. Maybe let's consider you have in particular state you have some big land and you constructed some office and you purchase some thousand servers and you just lined up and you tell that is as a data center. So basically data center is nothing but collection of servers and which we are providing some services and which could be used for doing the application deployment. Okay, so let me quickly show like how the server will be looking, and so this is the normal servers. Okay, so this is a single server. So you can think like it's just a small box only, which will be similar like CPU, right? We have, but this will be much similar than the much smaller than the CPU. So it will be very smaller. So it will having a lot of ports and good cooling systems because this will be running 24 cross 7, right? So even we don't have any display connected, just a server is like CPU you can think, and it has the resource capability, the cores, RAM, and hard disk will be there. Okay. And next we'll see about the data centers. Basically, and this is actually the rack. So in the data center, what they will do, they will keep the big number of racks. And the first one is like one server. So the man pulling out, right? So this you can consider as second server. So in one single rack, they will arrange the multiple number of servers, and in the background there will be some lot of network connectivity and some cooling system will be there and good power supply because this server has to be running 24 cross 7 for the whole year. So it has to be good backup should be there for the power also. Okay. That's good. Okay. So we got to know, right? Data center is nothing else, just a collection of these servers. And now let's see. Maybe I will quickly show you how the data center looks. Okay. So data center mostly will be like looking like this. So you can okay. So it will be like a big room with a very good cooling system, and so this it will be like separate rack will be there, right? In that one, multiple servers will be arranged in the vertical order. So this you can maybe in this setup you can see maybe some 500 servers will be there located. So similar like there will be multiple rooms and multiple servers will be placed, and each will be having perfect power backup system and the cooling system because it has to run 24 cross 7. So using because each server is like a very big number of resources it's providing. Okay. Now our main motto is to see what's the difference between the on-premise and cloud. Okay. So now we see the data center is a collection of the servers, right? On-premise is like the one company will be having their dedicated data center. So data center is the collection of the servers, right? Means on-premise means a data center which will be owned only by the company or the organization. Let's say consider the Oracle as a one company or the organization. So they are deploying, they are actually giving the database services. They are giving their DB, right? So maybe if they're giving the DB as a cloud service, they have their own dedicated data center. Maybe they will have, let's say, thousand servers they have, and they have their own private area, and they have uh, some constructed the rooms, and then they have kept cooling system, and then kept these thousand servers, and these thousand servers will be used only by the Oracle, so not cannot be used by any other company or any other organization. So this is called completely owned only by the Oracle. So this is, we can call it as a private server setup, or maybe the on-premise setup we generally tell it as. So similarly Nokia, let's consider one more company, Nokia. They, for them, for their some purposes, they also might can have their on-premise data center. They can have some 500 to 1000 server, and those servers will be used only by the Nokia organization, not by any other thing. So Nokia servers cannot be used by Oracle. So they have their separate data center and used only by the respective organization. Okay. But now when we talk about cloud, cloud means the data center is owned by the provider. So in the currently in the market, there are a lot of providers, cloud providers. So we will see. So generally we have the cloud providers like AWS, Microsoft Azure, and GCP, and they will own a very big center. So not only in one particular state or one particular country, they will have the lot of data centers across the world, across the country, and they will have a lot of data centers in the world. So given the service to the customer, let's say this is a AWS cloud provider. They are having their own data center. Now, this data center is shared by multiple organizations. Okay, so let's say Netflix is one company, Adobe and Disney is company. So these companies actually they don't have, generally they don't have the dedicated data center. So instead of that one, they will get these servers. Basically, they rent the servers from the cloud provider. So now AWS is there, like maybe you can think of it as a broker. So they have the data center across the country, like across the world. Like they have a lot of data centers, like in India, US, Australia, Singapore. In almost of the country, they have the data center. So now Netflix, they are the video platform, right? So they want to stream the lot of videos. They need the servers. So what they will do, instead of they set up the on-premise data center, they, because like even if you want to purchase the server and if you want to maintain it costs more, and the maintenance cost also will be with a lot of burden is it. So that's why a lot of people is like moving to the cloud provider. So Netflix will just purchase the servers from the cloud provider, and they can use for application deployment and whatever they can do. So cloud, actually speaking, they are not providing only the server. They have a lot of things we will discuss later. But in simple term, cloud means generally by the provider, they are just renting the servers. And similarly, Adobe, Disney, so a lot of company or organization, they'll be using the servers from the AWS or maybe Azure or GCP. So they are just renting the servers from the one particular cloud provider. So in this case, these servers will be data center or the servers will be shared to multiple organization or the company or even the cloud, they are providing a dedicated setup as well. Like if you want one complete dedicated server, even Netflix can purchase one dedicated server and that server cannot be shared to Adobe or Disney. So that is also still possible. So that also available. So generally in terms like cloud means we have the data center and that is like they're giving a rent to multiple organizations. Okay. And this one you can see in the world, right? So like Microsoft Azure and Amazon, like how many data centers they have. So let's consider in India. So the blue line is a Microsoft Azure. So they have it in like Mumbai and then central India, like in Hyderabad and Amazon Web Services, they have it in Mumbai region, the data center. Okay. Similarly, the orange you can see they have it one data center in Singapore, and they have it in Tokyo in Japan and in China. And similarly in US, they have a lot of data centers. Similarly, Microsoft also have the data centers in the US, Singapore, Japan. So everywhere they have a lot of places, and even UK. So this like spread across. So if Netflix wants to just deploy their application scale, right? If they, let's say if they started on India and later if they want to deploy the application in one more country, let's say for US they want to deploy. So they need to set up the new data center. They can simply purchase or rent the servers from the cloud provider like AWS or Azure, and they can start the deployment. It will be a very quick process they can start. So that's why these cloud providers are very famous. And I'm repeating, so cloud providers doesn't mean they are providing only the servers. There are a lot of services are there. We will see in later. So currently the major cloud providers like AWS, which is very most popular, which is Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure and GCP, which is cloud Google Cloud Platform, and a lot more are there like DigitalOcean and then Alibaba Cloud, IBM Cloud, Oracle Cloud. So a lot of cloud providers are there, but the famous these three is the major one in the market. And cloud service offerings. So as we discussed, like one day the major thing is like they are renting the servers, right? So we generally call it as like three major category, which is like IaaS, CaaS, and SaaS. IaaS means infrastructure as a service. Example, getting servers from the cloud providers. Okay. Um, okay. Before going to that, I want to tell one more thing. Okay. So we discussed what is the server, right? So this server. So one server can have up to 160 core CPU, 2 TB of RAM, and 1 petabyte of block storage. So from one server, you can create multiple small servers. The small servers, we call it as a virtual machines. Okay. So now one server is having 2 TB of RAM. Okay. So now you can split, right? So for once, let's say you can create 1,000 small servers from this one single server. So that we call it as a virtual machine. Maybe the first server we can have like 64 GB RAM. So 64 into if you're creating some 100 servers, so 6,400 RAM GB it will go. So still you have some more RAM will be there. So like that you can split and you can create multiple VMs from that servers. And under hood from the service, there is something called hypervisor will be there, which is used to create these small virtual machines from that particular service. That is the technology used behind. Okay, so first is called as the infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure means we generally tell it as a the servers. So getting servers or renting the servers from the cloud providers. Okay. So here you can, the first thing you can see, the first column is the on-premises, right? In on-premises, we are the whole responsibility. The gray color is managed by user and the blue color is managed by the vendor, basically the cloud providers. When you set up the data center on basically the on-premise, you have to purchase the server, you have to set up, you have to take care of the networking, you have to take care of the storage, you have to take care of the servers. The next thing I told you, the virtualization, like from single server, you will use this virtualization technology. We something called like hypervisor. We use that to create multiple small VMs from a single server. On top of that, let's say you have one big server, okay? You have user visualization technology and you have created some thousand small servers from that one big server, okay? And then you need to install the operating system and maybe middleware and runtime, like you want to install some softwares, maybe DB and some web servers. And finally, the data and application is like you are developing some application and you need to deploy and you have to use it. So this is general process, and these are your full responsibility when you use it on-premise data center. Now let's come to this one, the cloud provider, which we tell it as the first one is IaaS, infrastructure as a service. So in this first one, the first four, the virtualization, networking, storage, servers, virtualization, till this part will be completely managed by the cloud providers, either by AWS, Azure, or GCP. Okay, so we no need to bother. So we just ask them like, I need one server with 64 GB RAM, and I need it's like 8 core processor, and then I need some 500 GB hard disk. So they will quickly create, and they will using this virtualization technology. They will create and they will give it to us. And after that, we will just choose, like we can install our operating system on top of that, and middleware, like if you want to have some web servers or some softwares like Tomcat or Nginx, we will install and then we will deploy our application. So our work is like minimalist to off. Only the top portion, only we will do it. In the underhood, like networking, storage, servers, virtualization, the cloud provider will do. So here the some part of work is like reduced from us, right? So that will be taken care of the cloud providers. The full maintenance will be done by them only. So next is like PaaS, which is like platform as a service. Example. So later we will see some solutions like Elastic Kubernetes service or from AWS and OpenShift from Red Hat. So basically, so server is created, but on top of that server, you are installing some tools, some softwares like even Nginx web software or Tomcat, a lot of software there. So generally, even if Kubernetes is one of the software you can attain. So even that Kubernetes is installed and they're giving it as a platform. So on top, we don't need to go and install those software. They will create the servers. They will even install that software, and they will provide you the ready server plus application. They will give it to you, so that you can use. So this we call as a platform as a service. So basically, the runtime and middleware and operating will be installed for you. And the last one is the SaaS, software as a service. Example, you can think like in Gmail and YouTube, right? So when this one, you want to like create some video and you want to publish on YouTube. So you no need to worry about whether you need to create server, whether you need to install some dependencies, whether you want to install first YouTube software, and whether then only you will be able to upload your video, right? But this is coming as a SaaS product because you just go to your browser, just type youtube.com, or your application is just opening, and our work is just uploading the video and you can watch it. Simple. So you don't have like anything to do behind that. That whole stuff is like completely provided by the service providers, which is called as a service providers, the SaaS, software as a service application. So till the runtime on top of the data plus application, when maybe any application that will be deployed and it will be finished to you. Okay, thank you.